Hi, my name is David Albert. I'm the board chairman of Friendly Water for the World here in Olympia, Washington. And with me is Zawadi Nikuze, who is the staff person for the African Great Lakes Initiative Healing and Rebuilding Our Communities program based in Goma, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Welcome, Zawadi.
Thank you, David. I'm glad to be here again.
Yes, you were here with us in 2010.
Yes.
So I should introduce both of our programs first. Friendly Water for the World, based in Olympia, teaches people around the world ways to ensure their own safe drinking water supply. We hold trainings around the world and have programs. Our first program just completed in the Congo, also in Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, Zimbabwe, South Sudan, Ethiopia, India, Afghanistan, and Honduras, and we continue to grow. We also hold trainings for people who want to work abroad. We have a training every year right here in Olympia, Washington. Zawadi works with this program, the African Great Lakes Initiative, working with victims of trauma, working on trauma healing, specifically with rape survivors and their children in Goma. We should talk some about the Congo first, because in fact, most people in the United States know very, very little about the Congo. And so Congo, it's a very large country, Central Africa, also a very wealthy country.
Yes, I hear it's as large as the size of the east state of Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rich in minerals, especially. We have gold, diamonds, copper, coltan.
Many people may not know what coltan is.
Coltan is actually, I can say it's like the latest, it's normally used to make like cell phones.
Right, it's
devices,
used in all our cell phones and our video screens.
Yes, and here in laptops.
Yes, and much of the world's coltan comes from your area, North Kivu,
So
Congo.
it's like the latest mineral.
Right.
Which is actually even most of the time at the center of all the conflicts going on in North Kivu. And that also actually, the eastern part of Congo, it's also rich in timber.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of wood, which also is exported illegally as well.
Right, so one of the commonalities for Congo is, regardless of what we talk about in terms of the conflict, the Americans, the British, the Russians, the Chinese, the Israelis, all have their hand in the Congo, extracting raw materials while the people are in very poor condition. So you're cursed by natural resources.
Definitely.
And,
our blessings have turned to be a curse.
Right.
Yes.
So now, in the northeastern part of the country, this is the North Kivu province in the northeast. The capital is Goma,
Yes.
which is where you are from. And this area has been beset by violence really since 1997.
Yes.
And in fact, in the U.S. and in our newspapers, we read all about Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and Palestine. But if you put all of those conflicts together, it's not even, in terms of the number of deaths and people displaced from their homes, it's not even half of what's going on in the Congo. Congo is by far the hottest war in the world.
Yes, actually it's termed as the African World War.
The African World War.
Yes.
Right. So almost 7 million people have died.
Yeah, that's what's confirmed, and they continue dying every day.
Right.
The death rate is really
It's about 40,000 a month, I've
increasing.
read.
Yes.
Right. So we hear about Syria, where the highest death rate is 5,000 a month. It's 40,000 in the Congo. But it's not in our newspapers.
It's unfortunate. Well, I don't know what's happening with the media. As some people may say, it's like an old story for all these years, just the same, repeating the same story. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think what makes it more interesting for the media is when there's like a change. Mm-hmm. But with the Congo, it's like you keep on repeating the same story, and some people may think that maybe it's just the old one, which now they're trying again to bring back. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what makes it not being interesting. Mm-hmm. But altogether, there's actually every day there's something new.
Right.
Yeah.
And unlike Syria, for example, where the U.S. gets very little in the way of resources, Congo is central. I mean, we can't manufacture cell phones or video screens without the coltan. Coltan also comes from Australia too, but much of the world's supply does come from North Kivu.
Yes, it does, and unfortunately, it doesn't really benefit the local community. When we hear about all the minerals in Congo, you would think that the people there are rich, but unfortunately, they are very, very poor, extremely poor, with no potable water. There's no electricity, like permanent electricity. School for the children is very expensive. The government cannot really like pay the teachers, so parents have to chip in and pay like a monthly fee for their children to go to school. Health is an issue, infrastructure it's an issue, there are no roads. So when you hear about the minerals which are under there and you look at the status of the country,
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe there are two different Congo they're talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about people not being paid. I mean, we talk about the rebels. People might have heard of the M23 rebels, but as I remember, the M23 rebels actually had been part of the Congolese National Army, but their complaint was that they weren't being paid.
Yeah, and that's it's not only for the rebels. It's something which is like I can say maybe the government, the system in place. It's not only the soldiers, teachers, medical doctors. I mean, it's just like we can say all the civil servants
Right.
haven't been paid well. So, and for a soldier, you know, for you to go and fight, it's like you're offering yourself. As a, you just to go and offer yourself for the country. You're sacrificing yourself for the country. And definitely expect to be well paid in case something happens to you over there. At least you know that your family will go on well. But in this area, it's not assured.
Yeah. So now Goma has got had 1 million residents, right?
Yes.
But there's actually 2 million.
Yes, the other million, these are internal displaced people who are in the camps.
So refugees.
Yes, they're in the camps within the area of Mugunga. That's 29 kilometers from Goma town. Yeah.
So this is kind of like having a Seattle in the environs with 1 million people, and then all of a sudden, within a 6-year period, another 1 million people arrive, set up camp basically around Seattle. No resources, no food. They're all coming from the countryside.
Yes, fleeing all these conflicts, war conflicts. So they look at Goma as the safe haven, and then they just say, okay, at least being the capital, the provincial capital, maybe we can get some peace there. So they all come from different parts, mainly from the two main territories which are at war. That's Masisi territory and Ruchuru territory, and some of Nyiragongo territory as well.
So, all right, so there we are in a city that's meant for 1 million, and now there's 2 million, and nothing new in the way of resources. And they're all escaping war. And here comes Zawadi Nikuze, and what does she end up doing?
We know that whenever there's a conflict, there are victims as well. And where there are victims, there are consequences of the conflict. As you mentioned that I work with a Healing and Rebuilding Our Communities program in North Kivu. It's a program aimed at bringing the communities together. So that means these are people who once upon a time lived together and now are no longer living together. It might be due to the conflict, due to misunderstanding, and in this particular case, they no longer live together due to conflict. So by bringing them together, we try to offer them some knowledge in understanding and knowing trauma, in how to manage their anger, and at the same time to have them rebuild their trust, because these are two or more than one communities which live together, and here they've lost trust in each other. So we have to bring them together, and then they can have a time of sharing their grief, their sorrows, their pain, and rebuild that trust in order for them to continue living together, because there are things we cannot separate. If I come and live here in Seattle, I find you here in Seattle, and if we don't get along, the solution is not for me to run away. It's rather to make up. Yeah.
So in the middle of this work you're doing, the bombs are falling. You've had various rebel groups that have come through your town. over time. One group called I mentioned M23, who originally, some say, came from Rwanda, joined, when they came, rather than fight them, they made them part of the Congolese National Army. Then they decided that they weren't getting paid enough and became an armed rebel force in the area.
Yes, the M23 is there, and to add to that, it's not the only rebel group.
Not the only rebel group.
Which is there. There are others. Some of them are far away in the south and villages, far away, especially in the mining areas. But this one now, the one which has been really progressing to come and attack the city. So it's quite a hard time for both the government and the UN to control all these rebel movements,
Right.
because they all have different needs, or what they claim they want to liberate the country or the local population. So it's very hard to know who is who, what do they really want, because when you try to solve this, oh, let's go for negotiations, let's do this, we offer this, sometimes they say, okay, we agree, and then they merge up with the national army. The next time they break off, they hear something else has come up. And it makes our work very difficult. As we say, we are rebuilding the communities. Once the people are beginning to rebuild their trust, and then all of a sudden something comes up, it breaks it again. So
you've had the M23 came through in November,
yes.
Occupied the city for 11 days. There was much destruction, I hear.
Yes, a lot of destruction, a lot of losses, a lot of uncertainty, and of course, a lot of mistrust among the people. But nevertheless, we always say, peace is a life we
Right.
live. Despite all this, I mean, something has to be done. I remember some people saying, it's not worth it working in Congo nowadays. But I'm saying, well, we have to do something. War is going on here, and some here peace work is going on the other side, because if we had to wait for the last 20 years, otherwise nothing would have happened.
Right. So we'll talk about the particulars of your work in a minute, but in November you actually had to flee a hospital bed.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us this story?
Yes. In November, had just lost a baby, and that's when actually the M23 was coming in, and bombs were falling all over the place, and I had to flee like anybody else, despite being weak. I just had to get out of my hospital bed, and I'm just going in the deep opposite direction. The rebels are coming in and have to go out, and I mean, it was like, okay, I have no choice. You either do it, survive or die. And it was actually the most painful experience, because there were
and
a
you
lot
fled
of,
to Gisenyi just across from
yes,
in
I
Rwanda,
fled.
just across from Congo.
I fled to Gisenyi. We had so many people, because it was like that's the nearest place to go. And at the same time, you're imagining this can be the exit point to any direction in the world. So we just get out. I mean, it was so much that we couldn't just resist. Yeah.
So you returned back to Congo?
Yeah, afterwards we returned to continue work.
Now you work mostly with women, the rape survivors
Yes, I do.
of the area, and there are a lot of them. Rape is a tool of war, it seems. It's not outlawed by the United Nations yet as an illegal weapon of war, but there is a move afoot to create a UN,
Yes.
United Nations Convention.
Yes.
But so I've heard that basically rapes occur from virtually every one of the armies. There have been rapes from the rebels, from the Congolese army, and from the United Nations troops as
Yes.
well.
It's not like say that it depends. Everyone has got a way of defining it, say that the rape is done by a particular group, but I've just said everybody is involved in it, especially whether the UN armies, the national army, and the rebel groups. But the sad part, it always affects the woman,
Right.
because she's the one who is raped, and at the same time, it affects the community at large. When I say the community, it's because we believe that a woman is the mother of the nation. So once she's affected, and all those other people who depend on her are also affected as well, mainly her husband, her children, and the family at large. That includes her personal family, her in-laws. Yeah, because rape has been used as a weapon of war just to fragilize the community.
It fragments it.
Yeah, they fragment completely. Once the woman is raped, she's cast out, and that can bring division in the family, whereby it's like your daughter has exposed herself. And the sad thing is that whenever it happens, it actually turns out to be like, it's your fault. You expose yourself. And yet, most of the time it happens when she has gone out there to try and feed her family. Either she's fetching water to cook the meal for the family or looking for firewood to cook the food for the family. But when it happens, no one considers that, oh, she was trying to do good for the family. It's like you exposed yourself, you let it happen to yourself. And where she thought she would find help and encouragement and comfort, it's when she's now getting rejection. And at the end of the day, sometimes she's just told, you are a prostitute. We don't want you. You're unclean. And she goes with her children.
So you didn't originally plan to be working with rape survivors. Could you tell the story of how that happened?
I used just to say, okay, I'm a community worker, but and my focus was mainly working in the IDP camps. That
The IDP, the internally displaced people's camps. These are the refugees.
Yes, that was back from 2007, 8, and 9, when we had internally displaced camps in Goma. Then all of a sudden, in 2009, there was a closure. And this particular group of women, 2 of them came to me.
So the closure means the government just decided they didn't want the refugees there.
Yeah, they say it's high time they can go back to their villages and try to continue their life from their villages. So they had no choice left but to pack their belongings and go. And there are 2 women who approached me who used to attend some of our workshops because we did AVP workshops in the camps. This is
Alternatives to Violence.
Programs, trainings in the camps, just to try and reduce the level of violence in the camps. We were doing mediation, transformative mediation, whereby we help the people to solve and to mediate their own problems without dragging issues to the court. We did conflict resolution programs and healing and rebuilding our communities trainings.
And that's the trauma work.
And that's the trauma work. So in these workshops, we normally invite both men and women. And mainly it's more of talking their daily life, actually. All what they do, it's practical things based on their daily life in the camp. And during our trauma healing sessions, we have a session where we call the opening up session, where people share their inmost stories, which caused them trauma. And these women, we talk about general things. But sometimes when people
the general war.
The loss of a loved ones, the loss of property, the loss of anything which was valuable to them. But when it comes to the issue of rape, you can't just share it in public, especially where it's like you know one another, and you fear that your story is going to go out there and everybody will know what happened to you. So these 2 women came to me and said, Zawadi, as much as the camp is being closed down, we can't go back to our villages. I said, why? Everybody else is going back, and I said, no, we have a particular case. Then I took them aside, what particular case do you have? They say, no, we are rape survivors. We've been attending your workshops. We enjoy them. But, we really can't share about our stories because of the setup. They are male participants, and some of them know us. Definitely just go and tell everybody. Secondly, it's just for our own dignity. The camps have so many people. It's just like exposing yourself there, and we'll be called like we are prostitutes.
So all the people are having to return to the countryside. Of course, they have nothing to return to. The villages have been destroyed. But these was about 200 women?
Yeah, there were more than that.
But these women, no matter what happened, they weren't going to go back.
They were really scared because for them meant going back to the place where these horrible things happened, and they are not healed from the inside. Automatically just connect 1 to 2 and again it's going to happen if I'm to go back. And there's that fear, maybe the rebels or the rapists saw them, So they just say, we need somebody to talk to and someone who can...
And some of them had children from the rapes.
Yes, some had the children from the rapes. Some were kicked out of their marital homes with their children. And, it's like, where do I go?
Right, and some of them had contracted HIV
and others had
and other medical
problems, and they needed just attention as well. And I said, okay, I mean, these women didn't come to me for nothing. That means I have to do something. And I told them, okay, look, I really can't meet all your needs, but I think you can just start something together. And the first step was to put them in a support group, first listening to them, knowing what they want and where they want to go, which was not a very easy task, because here we're talking about women coming from different parts of the country. Some know each other, others don't know each other, or they don't even know each other's story. They just, oh, we all meet at the doctor's place or this particular clinic, but without knowing each other's story. And we began by doing individual listening sessions. Then later on, we put them in a group listening session to help them open up and understand that it's not my problem alone. Even there's someone else who has experienced rape. And sometimes they'll tell you, yes, I experienced rape, but her case, it's terrible. The bottom line, they all experienced rape, but she can say, mine, hers is terrible. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that already was like a way of helping them to regain strength, mm-hmm. helping them to rebuild themselves. So from there, now from the listening sessions, we take them through the training of trauma healing, where they can be able to identify different causes of trauma, what are the consequences, and then they can move into their anger, how to manage their anger, how to release it and how to manage it. Yeah. They begin also the healing journey.
Because they're not just doing this for themselves, they all have children, mm-hmm. you know, and this affects the children.
Definitely. The children, even neighbors, like sometimes they just release their anger on anybody. So from there, and then we also take them to the stages of how to rebuild a new community. First to rebuild oneself, and then to rebuild the other community. And we say oneself themselves, and then a community begins with their children and those surrounding them. And then
so I know in Masisi you've had a center to work in to do this work, mm-hmm. and in Goma?
Yes, in Masisi we have one where we targeted a group of 50 women, mm-hmm. though there are more. Mm-hmm. But we first wanted to work with a group of 50 women so that we can also be able to evaluate the impact of our work, the efficiency of our work, whereby you take one by one, you say, okay, we've come from this point A, and mm-hmm. where we are at point C or we are at point D, mm-hmm. and these are the challenges. We should now respond to them like this, or we can improve on our program this way. And then we had also another group of 50 women in Goma. And what we do is we first do a need assessment with them to know what do they want to do as a way of continuing their life. Because here they are living. Despite what happened, life goes on. And once they've freed themselves, they've offloaded. Mm-hmm. So they need to continue living a positive life like anybody else. Because they don't have a tag like, I've been raped. It's like we tell them you are a human being like anyone else. That's the first confidence you have to have. I'm like a woman like any woman. Because once they put themselves in a cocoon of saying I'm a rape survivor, that hinders them from progressing.
Right. And you've been doing some microeconomic programs with them as well.
Yes. The microeconomic program was to help them improve their livelihood. Mm-hmm. And together with that, we used to accompany it with skills learning, because some of them will tell you, I'm good in business, I'm good in managing funds. Some know how to plan. The capital is this is the profit, I'll save this, I'll use this, and again, this will go back in the business. And others didn't know. So we provided a training for them, and each was to identify what they're interested in. Mm-hmm. And once we help them also to study the market of what they want to sell, because some of them have no idea. Because a friend is selling beans, or she also feels, I can sell beans. Or another friend is selling potatoes, but she knows nothing about it. How do you keep them fresh? Where do you get them from? How hard is the work? Yeah.
And so, most of the women were illiterate as well.
Yes, because as these women come from the countryside, and most of them never went to school, or even those who went dropped out of school, you find most of them like have primary education, never like joined higher education, and mostly what they know is farming, and our farming is done manually. So when they come to Goma, they are not learned to farm. That means we have to train them in other skills which will help them survive or lead the life of the city like anybody.
Right.
And that's why it comes in the issue of literacy classes, to teach them how to know to read and write, so that from there, that's when you can also teach them any kind of life skills. Let's say for sewing, you cannot learn sewing if you don't know how to read and write, because you have to take measurements, you have to write the name of the client. So everything begins with the literacy class. From there, then you can choose any life skill you want. So we had like an option of 4. We had the sewing class, basket weaving, crocheting, and it was like with the weaving.
Right.
So they'll choose what they feel comfortable with, because we have some who are elderly and they can't use like the sewing. It's very difficult for them to insert the thread into the needle. So they rather go for crocheting or the weaving or the basket weaving.
Now, you know that Friendly Water for the World has a dream of working with you.
Yes, we know.
We would like, because we know there's no good water in the city of Goma.
Yes.
2 million people without any clean water.
Yeah, the water which is used in Goma, it comes mainly from the Lake Kivu, and it's not that really potable. A big number of Goma people go down to what we call the public beach to fetch their water. And at the public beach, you find there's someone washing clothes. Next to that person, someone is cleaning a bicycle or fetching water to drink. There are fishermen on the side. So you can imagine
all together
what kind of water. If someone
so there's a very high rate of especially child diarrhea disease.
And
you know, it's very interesting. If you watch our TV late at night, you'll find ads on TV for Save the Children or other charitable organizations. And they'll always show a child with a bloated belly. And that's supposed to mean that the child is malnourished. It's true, but it doesn't explain why. It seems the new studies have shown that most of these children actually have been infected with cryptosporidium. It's something we know here in Washington State. And they may come on now with diarrhea for 5 or 6 days. Then they will seem to be healthy. But this parasite attaches itself to the inside of the stomach so that the person cannot digest their food anymore. And eventually, you will see those bloated bellies. It's actually not specifically not enough food, but rather the inability to digest the food. So our dream, of course, is to train women who are working with your program to build biosand water filters that can remove up to 99% of viruses and bacteria from the water supply. It can make it possible for children to learn in school, because if you've got diarrhea all the time, or your brain has been fighting off parasitic stress, it has not developed properly. So it's our dream to be working with these women, which will also give them stature in the community.
Yes, we appreciate the idea. And it's not only improve their stature in the community, even the life of all these 2 million people. We know water is life. And you know that drinking clean water is very important. As you say, it reduces the rate of diseases. So it really solves a lot of problems, because some people they know that they have to boil water, but they don't have the fuel to boil water.
Right, they have no firewood.
Yeah, there's no firewood. There's no electricity, even if you had an electrical cooker, or still, even if you have electricity, you can't afford the bill. So this will really help a lot of people. And even the program, we can even take it back to the villages where people just drink water from the streams. And we know in the streams, like people step in, cattle step in,
right.
And you know, it's just also that.
Americans have a hard time imagining it, but you know, in some areas, we actually have just completed a program south of you in South Kivu, in a place where they not only have they have no clean water, and the death rate among children is almost 500 out of every 1,000 children die before the age of 5, most from lack of clean water. So, you know, we would love to do it. Bombs dropping or not, you still have to drink water.
Yes, because life goes on. I mean, we always say, okay, bombs are falling and life goes on. those who survive will have to continue living.
Right. Now, you had an interesting, the United Nations recently changed its mandate. So theoretically, they're supposed to go out and fight the rebels. And I know about 2 weeks ago they came through Goma, and there were some interesting incidents. You want to tell us about them?
Yes, I remember one was on August 24th, where the young people protested, saying that they don't feel like the UN is protecting them as required.
And this is the center of the United Nations operation.
And all of a sudden, the youth just got angry. And they're demonstrating all over the street and carrying stones. They say the UN is useless, they should leave, they should leave. And then this UN soldier said, oh, these young people, there's like a group of them, maybe 50, and he's like, these guys are going to kill them. And then he just opened fire on them, shooting one straight in the chest, and the young man died. And I mean, people are mad. Definitely, they are rebels next there. Why can't you just go and shoot them? You're shooting innocent young people.
The rebels are 2 kilometers away, 3 kilometers away.
Yeah, 12, I think they're 12 kilometers away. So, I mean, and those are the things which are stressing the local community. We know the enemy, we know where he is, you have all the powers to go and the weapons to go and fight him, but you are killing innocent young people. So, and of course, a bullet and stones, sure, he could have hidden. He has a helmet. He could have even hidden, but opening fire, to me as a human rights activist, I mean, I just felt like it was unfair. And this conflict have been going on. What they did as young people was human. It's frustration. I mean, every now and then you're attacked. So, in my view, I was like, these UN forces, they are trained to manage such situations. I believe...
And they're spending an enormous amount of money.
Yes. It's the most expensive UN peacekeeping in the world. And, when it goes that, it's like increasing and increasing the level. The conflict is escalating, and the mistrust between the communities is increasing. And people are losing hope. And when people lose hope, they do weird things.
Yeah, I think I told you earlier, I received a message from a friend in Goma who had his best friend. He had a house with a human rights worker, and one evening, a group of armed men came to his house. Didn't know whether they were rebels, thugs, troops, UN troops. They had no idea who they were. They tied him up, and they took every piece of furniture in his house. They took his bed. They took all the crockery, all the plates, everything in his house was stripped bare. And as they left, they said, we have what we want from now, but don't worry, we're coming back later for you.
Yeah, that's also the challenge, security.
And this is in the center of the city. Imagine this happening in the middle of Seattle.
It's a challenge. Because of all this conflict, which has gone on for quite a while, the weapons are just round in people, and you don't know who's who. Anyone can own one. So it's very difficult, and the government has no control over these weapons. So it's very easy. You can even get thugs, soldiers, name it. Anyone can have it. If they just want your car, they can come. If they want that watch, they'll come and get it.
So I want to ask you a more personal question. What do you do to recharge? I mean, here you are working in one of the most violent places on the face of the earth. What do you do to keep yourself going? What do you do to recharge?
I believe in the passion. Being a woman, I just feel like, it's so sad that a woman is going through such a thing. Because first I look at it, a mother figure, as I say, a woman is the mother of the nation. Women are the ones who give birth to these children.
And we will, I think we can note that you are pregnant.
Indeed. So it's the passion, and I love children. And whenever I look at these children, I'm like, okay, what if the mother dies? What's going to happen to these children? They end up on the streets. These are the future rebels, future thugs. So,
or future good leaders of the nation.
At the same time.
Right.
But now for them to be good future leaders, the mother has to be there, or someone responsible has to be there. And it's very hard. If the mother is not there, it's just very hard. So it's the passion. which drives me.
Now, we're going to have a video that will be inserted, will be part of this show, about where we'll actually meet some of these women. It's a wonderful 8-minute video that I know.
Which is Association de Mamans pour la Paix et le Développement, and translated in English as Women Association for Peace and Development, is a group of rape survivors based in Mugunga area in Goma town, North Kivu province. This group was formed in September 2009 after the sudden closure of IDP camps. In this documentary, you'll be able to see how far these women are in their journey of healing and the life skills they have been able to learn. They will present the work which they have done and the challenges they encounter as well. You will see how their children are happy to wear clothes sewn by their mothers.
Kwetu ni Ngungu, lakini kwa leo mimi naishi hapa Mugunga. Niko na mtoto moya, jina yake John.
Ni from Ngungu. I have one child named John Samuel. He is 6 years old and I live in Mugunga. I am a member of AMAPAD.
Niliingia mwa hii kikundi tangu
I joined the group in 2009.
nimefaidia mingi.
I have benefited a lot. Before joining the group, I was traumatized, but through the teachings I received, I have been able to cope with the situation.
Shida zenye nilikuwa nazo zimeshapunguka. Ya pili yeye nimefaidia.
I learned basket weaving, and if I get the thread, I weave baskets for sale, and I no longer use plastic bags.
Ya tatu nimefaidia kujua kushona.
I learned to sew a dress, blouse, and a skirt, a shirt and a shirt.
Shona jipe na kirote na shemizi. Mimi napata nafasi ya kuishi pamoja na wengine.
I'm able to share with others in the group and it helps me emotionally.
Jina langu mimi naitwa kwa jina la Kahindo Nabakati.
My name is Kahindo Nabakati. I'm 41 years old, a mother of 6 children.
Tokiaka Masisi, Nyabiondo.
I'm from Masisi, Nyabiondo. We fled the war to Sake. Then one day we went to fetch firewood in the bush and we met with men in uniform. They chased us and 2 of us couldn't run because we were carrying babies. Then they raped us.
Mama wawili wengine wakakimbia. Wakatutendea vibaya.
When my husband heard about it, he sent me away, saying that he cannot live with a prostitute. I might infect him with diseases. I left with the children and joined others in the camp of Mugunga, where I was registered as size 7 and I was getting food for my children. Unfortunately, my children could not go to school. It was expensive.
Kupata masomo, jua kukosa mwae. Wakati nilibakia pale, siku moja tuko mkiwanja, tuko na dada hapa Rebecca, akatuambia.
One day Rebecca told me that there is a group which I can join, and I was pleased. I received teachings and I was very happy. I didn't know to read and write. Then I joined the literacy class. Now I can read and write a letter. I didn't know how to sew. Now I can make clothes for my children and repair my own torn clothes. I'm Sifa Claudine. I have 2 children. One is 2.5 years old and the other one is 6 months. I'm 18 years. I was coming from school, then I was raped.
Wakati tulikuwa narudia, kiana kinibaka, nile kunibaka ndio nikaweka mnyumba. Rebecca akinikiaka kiniambia.
Rebecca introduced me to the group of rape survivors when it was still working from Amour Place. I have learnt a lot, sewing skirt and crocheting.
Na mimi jina langu Neema Tumaini, mwenyakazi. Nimeshona hii.
I have made the blouse and the skirt, shirt and short, and a girl's dress. I have made the blouse and the skirt, shirt and short, and a girl's dress. I have made the blouse and the skirt, shirt and short, and a girl's dress.
Angu ni hizi vestine, nimeshona ribaya na jipe na kirote na shemize na robe.
My name is Chimanizanyi Tamari and I'm 55 years. I can't sew because I cannot get the thread through the needle unless I get some help. I also can't take long trips to go and get stuff or crocheting. If I get to farm or do kind of farming work like weeding, not heavy task, I'll be able to do it. We'd like to encourage them just to be strong. We know the times are hard financially all over the world, but in one way or another, they still need our accompaniments. We still need to be by their side so that they can be able to continue this long journey of healing that they have taken. So this also gives us hope. For some of them, when they joined the group, they couldn't smile, they couldn't laugh, and now here we are. We are having a beautiful group of beautiful women who can smile and who can do things for themselves, and we can see they're proud of doing them.
So that's very exciting to be able
exactly.
to see.
It's just a short extract, a short clip we put in just so that people can really be able to know that these women are there. They can also hear the testimonies.
Now, there are a lot of women in this condition. I mean, if there are 1 million refugees in the camps around Goma, that would mean that there are probably 70% of them are women and children. Mm-hmm. And if only 10% of them had experienced rape, it's probably higher than that from what I can tell, but if only 10%, we're talking about 60 or 70,000 women who need your services. We're going to need several hundred Zawadis.
Yes, there are, what I can say, there are other people working in that area, mostly local NGOs, and the few international NGOs which do like support work, but that's not enough. And that's where we are inviting those who have got the passion to come and join hands. I know it's happening in other parts of the world, but I mean, everyone has to raise the flag. You know, you have to raise your flag. Hey, here, things are not going on well. And that's why I'm here.
So you're here to raise consciousness. You're on a fundraising tour, of course. We'll make sure that folks know where to send funds. But I always tell people, money is great. Obviously, you need more money to do what you need to do. But money is not everything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What I always tell people, you can have money but not have peace. We've got wealthy people back in Goma with money, but in fact, sometimes when your money becomes a problem, we are targeted because of money. So first of all, we need love. Love to give to these women. I've seen it myself, whereby just a smile, a hug, transforming someone's life. Like those women, we had a case of one, with a fistula, and she just, no one can't approach her because she's thinking. And, after sharing, I just hugged her and just, hold on, my sister. And she just cried. I'm like, why are you crying, Rita?
Yes, I know last time you were here, you were here with Safe Place.
Yes.
They loved having you, and they're going to have lunch with you again on Monday.
Yeah. And the other thing I also say, we know that rape happens in other parts of the world. And from experience, last year, we had a friend from here who came, and she's also a rape survivor, who told me, Zawadi, I don't have money to give you, but I can come and share my experience with my sisters who also rape survivors. I said, oh, that's a great idea. She came all the way from the US, shared her experience with these women, and they were really overwhelmed and touched. Like, you mean there are also people who are being raped in the US, white people? I'm like, yes. And the particularity with this woman, she was raped 3 times. So I always say, money, as we say, money is not everything. If you've got a hurt, you can even just come down there, support one another, and support these women by sharing your story. It might be a rape survivor, and it can also just strengthen them, because what you want just to strengthen them. Yeah.
So even though we're here promoting your work, we would also like to invite anyone watching the show to support Safe Place in Olympia, who are doing just wonderful work, similar work to the work you do, and really one of our great community institutions who can use our support. I always tell people, if you can't give money, give us a prayer. And if you're not of the praying sort, give us a thought.
Sure.
Think about what's going on in Congo. Again, Americans don't hear very much about Congo. As I said, it's not in the front page of our newspapers, even though it is the mother of all wars today. And of course, the greatest victims of war are usually women and children, and you've seen that firsthand.
Yes, that's very true.
But the nice thing about having you here is, as always, when Friendly Water for the World has some of our visitors come from sub-Saharan Africa and other places as well, we meet extraordinary people doing extraordinary work in extraordinary circumstances. It's a great privilege to have you here with us.
We also thank you. We know that we can't do it by ourselves. As you only say back home in our language, that one head helps itself to go crazy. It cannot think. So for you to think properly, you have to be 2 heads. Meaning, we have to join hands. And it doesn't matter where you are. It can be known, we are thousands of miles away. But as I'm here, we can join hands. We can join hands by sharing ideas, thoughts, and who knows, we can bring the change. I love what Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see.
I think that's a great place to stop. Thank you, Zawadi. Thank you so much for being with us in the Olympia community.
Thank you for having me.